Live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are on the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. Got a great show for you today. Boomer back from Ohio for a day. We've got Phil Simms on at 8 a.m. We've got Boomer and Gio live tickets to give away in the 8 a.m. hour as well. We got a Knicks win, a Rangers loss, a Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers interview, and a Joe Shane sort of bye-week, oh my God, am I going to get fired, press conference yesterday as well. We will get to all of it and more. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, G. Everything went well in Columbus, Ohio yesterday. I was at the Ohio School Boards Association conference. About 1,500 people, and was the featured speaker, so it went really well. Thank you very much, Eddie. I would say that, flying out of Terminal B over there at LaGuardia, beautiful.
They've done a nice job now.
Oh, they've
used to be a mess.
I got to say,
it's nice now.
Andrew Cuomo, you got it done. You got that done. That was a big thing. JFK, that. And LaGuardia has been under construction forever. It's the first time I've been in Terminal B. I've been in Terminal C. But Terminal B is beautiful. So is Terminal C, for that matter. And I have to say that traveling with the masses is a very interesting thing these days. And, the TSA is kind of like NFL officiating. It's very inconsistent depending on where you go.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because, yesterday I'm feeling all good about myself, gave a great speech. Took a lot of pictures, a lot of people, loving the bingo history and everything else like that. So it was like I was in my element. So it was wonderful. Then I get to the airport, and one of my bags gets pulled aside and has to be checked for some reason.
Yeah, you might have water in there or something.
Did I forget something? Did I not forget? I'm like, I don't know.
Did I forget to take my gun out of there? One of those things,
Yeah, okay. So the TSA agent, which basically says, do you have something sharp in your bag? I'm saying, I don't have anything sharp in my bag. And she opens up what I carry is like a vitamin case with me. And she opens up, and in that vitamin case, I had that little jar of Metamucil.
Yeah.
Because, want to stay regular, especially when you're on the road. That's very important. When you fly, things change, your body changes.
Got to stay on schedule.
And you got to stay on schedule. It's very important. So I always take that with me. So she's rifling through my bag. And she opens up my little vitamin pouch that has my AG1s, has all this other stuff, my Balance of Nature, all that stuff.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. So then I figure she's going to go through that, and she grabs out my Metamucil. Now she holds it up.
Yeah.
All these people are standing there.
This is Boomer Esiason's Metamucil, yes.
And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You can't just say, okay, sir, what is this? She has no idea who I am, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's great. But she might put me right on the spot as she's holding it up. She goes, I have to check this. And I'm like, all right, it's Metamucil.
Yeah.
Unless there's some other powders or something that maybe they've come across in that kind of container.
So they ended up testing it. That happened to me once, too.
Right, exactly.
They test the thing.
They did, but it didn't happen at LaGuardia. That's the inconsistencies.
Right.
And I got one guy over in Columbus at the TSA going, stay with your bags. I'm like, I can see my bags. I'm like 5 feet away from them. I can see them. You got to stay with them. I'm like, I am. I'm staying with them before I go through the metal detector.
Yeah, and that woman holding up that Metamucil reminds me of the story of when David Cohn used to stick dildos in Jay Horowitz's bag at the airport. And they'd open it up, and then whose is this?
Yes.
Jay Horowitz would be standing there.
I thought maybe somebody did that to me or something. I don't know, but So yesterday that was the biggest takeaway from yesterday in terms of the travel nightmare and everything else. But it turned out to be good, and it was great to be in Columbus. Now I saw Joe Shane's press conference, listened to all of it, watched it. Really didn't say much, and I wouldn't have expected him to say much. There's not much you can say with the record that they have, and I know everybody is trying to read between the lines and what's going on here. They're going to bench Daniel Jones. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, I went back and looked at the tape of the game between them and the Panthers. It was not good. There were at least 10 to 12, maybe even 15 plays that he left out there. And if he hits 2 or 3 of them, they're going to win, and they're going to win by probably 10 points. And he's not a playmaker. He's turned out to be what we thought he was, and that is a average NFL quarterback that will have a long running this league, but unfortunately it's going to be as a backup somewhere as an insurance policy to win 3 or 4 games if in fact it's needed. So I got to say, while I do believe there are a lot of reasons why he has turned out to be this way, and due in large part to the instability of the New York Giants and their decision-making over the last 6 years, he has been given ample opportunities in 3 years under Brian Daboll to really turn into a quarterback that can be a difference maker. And unfortunately, he's not. I mean, it's not surprising to any of us. So my sense is that, yeah, they're going to bench him and they're going to move on. And I don't think it has anything to do with the injury situation. He might end up playing again, because usually guys that don't play a lot, like Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito, they go out there and they do stupid stuff and they get themselves hurt. So he may end up finding his way back on the field for the Giants at some point in time. But I get the feeling that this is it for him, and they're just going to put him on the shelf and move on and try to see if they can find their quarterback for next year.
Yeah, he had 2 opportunities in his career where his future was on the line going into the season. Into 2022, he ends up having his best year, winning the playoff game, going to the divisional round, getting his contract. He played that entire season after they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, essentially with his entire Giants career and maybe his NFL career on the line, and he got a contract out of it. He came back this year in a similar situation with the out in the contract with his future on the line, and this time he failed. So the one time was great for him, set himself up in the future, made a ton of money. This time didn't happen, stayed healthy, was given an opportunity for 3 years, as we mentioned, 1 year where he was hurt last year. But now it's over. And as we mentioned on Monday, it just felt like both situations were over. Like the Aaron Rodgers experiment failed and was over, and Daniel Jones is over. And the way that they're answering these questions, both Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, it's just you can tell.
Well, I mean, they don't want to embarrass anybody, and I totally understand that. And as much as we would love for total honesty, you're just not going to get it. And these guys are too seasoned to give it to you, and they really look. They probably really like Daniel. Daniel's like a robot. He'll come in there early. He'll leave late. He'll sit there. He'll have all the answers on the board. He'll know all the answers in the tape room, and he'll go out on the practice field, and he'll execute everything they ask him to do. But when the game starts, something happens. Something's missing. And the statistics will tell you that over the years. And again, I think the performance speaks for itself. The proof is always in the performance. And, yeah, he hasn't had a lot of great teams around him. I would say that he has a pretty good team around him right now. And I do believe that they tried to fix that offensive line if Andrew Thomas doesn't go down. Maybe things are a little bit different for Daniel. But if you look at their schedule thus far this year, they got blown out in 2 games. They've been close in every other game. They're like 1-score games. And if you just make 1 or 2 plays when you're supposed to make those plays, especially in the red zone, and you don't hit Jadeveon Clowney in the helmet, and you don't throw it behind your receiver in the flat for an interception on a turnover that your defense got for you, you're going to win games. And everybody knows in this league that our position is the position that everybody looks at to be the dynamic personality, to be the one that's going to make the plays when it gets really nasty on the road, especially, when you're getting booed and it's loud and the anxiety's high and people can't hear. You got to be able to communicate and you got to be able to pull the trigger. And unfortunately for Daniel, whatever the situation is, we've seen this with a lot of quarterbacks. It's not an easy position to play, but he has had a lot of opportunities. So I'm not shocked at all by what Joe Schoen said yesterday and how he said it. I mean, I guess I'm reading between the lines like everybody else is. I mean, it's just if you can't say something nice about or good about the way a person is playing, especially at a high-profile position, then that tells you all you need to know. I mean, like everybody on that sideline on Sunday was completely deflated, like 3 different times. And it was all because of decisions he made or throws that he threw that were just completely inaccurate. Or he grounded a couple balls where guys were wide open.
Yeah, now the question is, where do they find the next guy? And what does it take to get that next guy? Now, I don't know if the Commanders, especially when you're talking about a trade within the division, would have listened to trade offers. I know that they had talked mostly with the New England Patriots about the Drake May selection because you knew Drake May was going to go 3rd, but and he's been okay. He hasn't, taken the world by storm like Jaden Daniels has in the NFL this year. But
he beat Caleb Williams straight up.
Yeah, but he's been good. I just said he's been good, but he's not been Jaden Daniels like franchise changer like we've seen from him.
Not yet anyway.
Yeah, so I look back on that and those discussions and what it would take to get that quarterback, and I think like, man, did they miss out on an opportunity? Because if we're to believe, so far early returns, and we'll have Phil Simms on at 8. I've asked him a couple of times as we've sort of seen this trending in this direction. This quarterback class, he doesn't love it.
He doesn't love it yet, and he'll look at it more. And then when we get to the playoffs and the college football playoffs, these players will be able to see. We'll be able to see whether or not they can separate themselves from each other. I mean, Shedeur Sanders seems to be the odds-on favorite to be the go-away number 1 pick, and that would mean like there's a really good chance I think he ends up in Las Vegas. And we talked about this months ago.
Sure, yeah.
And there's one other thing we talked about months ago, and I want to do a little digging on this.
Oh, he did some digging.
And this goes back to you now.
Oh, to me.
I'm going to give you a lot of credit for this because you brought something up, I want to say 5 or 6 weeks ago when the Jets fired Rob Saleh. And you started talking about what did the Jets need, who do they need, what kind of personality do they need, and what kind of legitimacy and credibility do they need. And you mentioned one name, and that name was Jon Gruden. Now, all of a sudden, the last couple of weeks, that name is out there all over the place. Like, is it a realistic situation that he would want to get back into football? I'm telling you right now, a couple calls last night. I can confirm that he definitely wants to get back in. 100%. Yeah. I can also confirm, and I believe this to be true. This is, again, my opinion after speaking to at least 2 different people that are involved in coaching searches and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That there are teams that are interested in him. And if it's not this year, it's definitely next year. But he's coming back. He's definitely coming back.
All right, so the question that I have is the NFL allowing it.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, again, he got fired by the Raiders.
Right, but so this is a tricky situation. Now, does he still have an open lawsuit against the NFL with a wrongful termination situation?
Yes, he's trying to have, full transparency, get all the emails out there, and he's still fighting that. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so there's
just like Brian Flores is still fighting with the Miami Dolphins.
Right. But he's got a job in the NFL now as an assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, just not a head coach. And he was on with that.
He's going to get another shot.
Yeah, I would think so. And he was on with Adam Schefter's podcast and said, like, there's one of 32 jobs. I definitely want one of these. He's trying to get his name back out there. But,
his name will be out there, by the way.
And I guess the only thing that would hold back this Jon Gruden coaching next year, in my opinion, would be that lawsuit and then the stuff he said about Roger Goodell. Now, I don't want to go into sort of like conspiracy theory stuff or whatever, and I don't know if Roger Goodell is this type of petty of a person, but like he said some really, really nasty stuff about the commissioner.
Everything. I mean,
could you see Roger Goodell being like to the owners, "We're not letting this guy back in, guys. Sorry, there's enough qualified candidates. Like, sorry."
I don't know if he could do it. I mean, there are certain teams that would really love to have Jon Gruden. I believe would love to have Jon Gruden in his personality. He would have to get through some of the initial, negativity and controversy that has surrounded him, but. What people tend to forget is just how many great things he's done for people and for players.
Oh yeah,
there's a million things that he's done for players and people that nobody's ever seen, and I don't know how significant all of it is internally. That's one phone call I can make later on today to find out, to see whether or not the NFL has a problem with that. But I'm just telling you, his name's going to be out there, his name's going to be involved, and there's going to be an owner that's going to go for him. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
And I just wanted you to know that when you brought that up 6 weeks ago, and I initially was thinking, wow. And that'd be like the Jets hiring Rex Ryan all over again. Just the offensive version of him.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Rex Ryan didn't have head coaching experience at the time. From a personality standpoint, I agree 100%. But Rex Ryan wasn't a head coach. Jon Gruden is a Super Bowl winning head coach. So basically, you're getting that same Rex Ryan personality with a resume behind it. Now, he's only 61 years old. I say only 61 because we talk about Bill Belichick, who's 10 years older than that.
Yeah, plus I'm 63, so that puts me right in between both of them. So I'm in good shape.
Right. So so you think about Bill and the thing that he might take on, and does he want to go through a full rebuild and all of these things that we talk about with Bill Belichick. I mean, Jon Gruden's been sitting on the sideline thinking, man, I really should be coaching in this league, and he's got a lot left, and he's always been a huge, energetic guy. So you're not hiring some fossil when you bring in Jon Gruden by any stretch of the imagination. He's as energetic, as intense as anybody. And then, the thing that made me think about it was how he reinvented himself on TikTok, because I was just seeing him on TikTok do these weird, like, film breakdowns for humor, and I'm like, man, this guy, like, if he can get back in the good graces of the NFL, then he's a great candidate.
Let me just explain something to you. Like, if you are the commissioner of the NFL, and I don't know if any other commissioner goes through nearly the amount of crap that Roger Goodell has to go through. And I'm not talking about him personally. I'm talking about the stuff that comes across his desk, like all the different crap, from, coaches breaking rules, Bounty Gate, Spy Gate, Deflate Gate, you name it, to owners demanding certain schedules, making more money, expanding the schedule, dealing with the Players Association. I mean, there's a million things that come across his desk that we never even hear about. And for the most part, he has to take the slings and arrows that come along with all of that crap, and he's the guy that is always in the target ear of the press and the media that covers the NFL, and it's always his fault. And but that's what he gets paid $40 million for, or whatever the hell he's getting paid. And I would take that money and be more than happy to sit in that chair and just say, okay, bring it at me. That's fine. I'll work here for about 3 or 4 years, and I'll take off. But he's dealt with so much stuff, and if there were ever a league of second chances,
oh yeah,
I mean, this is the prime example of a league of second chances.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the points I brought up. There's a lot of players who get second chances that do far worse things that we have seen. And, Jon Gruden, I mean, you can't really condone some of the language that was in there, but it's also emails that he didn't expect to be public at any point. And I think all of us have said or written stuff in our histories as human beings that if were made public, people wouldn't like. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about all of that. I mean, I think at some point people get over it and say this guy's qualified to get another opportunity.
And just know, I not everybody's going to be like us saying second chances, give the guy a go. He deserves a second chance. There'll be a very loud group of people that will say, I don't ever want to see him on an NFL sideline again. I mean, you're going to have that too.
Oh, sure, of course.
You're going to be dealing with everything.
But an organization's going to have to understand that, deal with that, and then it'll be a lot of loud noise in the beginning, and then it'll dissipate. But a couple of things. One, do you know where he's getting his paycheck these days, Jon Gruden? He's an advisor for the Milano Seamen of the European League of Football. So that's what he's doing right now. He's advising the Seamen in Milano in the European League of Football.
You know what that tells me? It tells me he loves football, man.
Yeah.
He eats, sleeps, and drinks it. I think he is a leader of men. I think he is an organizer. I think he's an incredibly intense human being. I'm not saying that I could play for him.
And the other thing, quick, because we got to get to a break, the GM that he gets paired up with, because you just cannot give a head coach that full responsibility.
And you can't let him pick the GM.
Yes, that has to be that is going to be a huge part of this, is getting someone to work with him. Now, the last guy he had was Mike Mayock, did not work out there with the Raiders. This is something that you really got to find that right guy, because his personality is so big. So it's someone that's worked with him before, worked well with him before. There's not going to be sort of a back and forth power struggle. That hire is going to be just as important as the Jon Gruden hire.
He's going to be different. John will be different just simply because of what he's gone through over the last 2.5 years. I think he'd be different. I think he'd be much more flexible with whoever he's working with, which may be good or bad. I don't know. I wonder which Jon Gruden I want. I want the guy that
guy who won a Super Bowl. That's what you want.
Yeah, and I want the guy who loves ball and has got a personality. And like I always think that personality can get the best out of Derek Carr. That personality may have been able to get the best out of Daniel Jones. Like that, he's the personality that the team needs if they have kind of a flatliner at quarterback.
All right, Boomer and Gio on the fan.
That's why he and Rich Gannon,
Oh, yeah, of course.
I love Rich Gannon. You talk to him about his time with John Gruden, he'll tell you he loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
But they were screaming at each other on the sideline.
And they got the best, and they got the best out of each other.
Yes.
Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. We'll get Jerry in here, tell you about the Knicks and the Rangers, have all the audio from the football stories yesterday, some weather for you right now.